Welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and in this video we are going to be checking out Middara again here on the channel, but in a different fashion this time around. As you know, Middara comes from Succubus Publishing and is part 1, or Act 1, as you can see on the box there, of 3 acts that make up a gigantic campaign. This box alone is already huge, and what I aim to do right now is take everything that comes inside of the core box for Act number 1, and as you can see from the title of this video, we're going to be talking about a fancy but functional organizer insert that's going to allow this game to be set up, organized in a much better fashion than what's currently in this game box. So what we're going to do first is I'll take this game off the table. We'll first focus on taking a look at the pre-built organizer and all the different compartments. I'll talk to you about how I put it together, the things I liked about what happened in terms of its delivery and the way it was packaged, what I used to put it together, and then you're going to actually see me slot this organizer piece by piece with each of the different components back inside the box to give you an idea as to whether or not this might be the solution for you. So without further ado, let's check out the fancy but functional organizer. Here is a look at the organizer all assembled, so you're not going to have to see me build this whatsoever. Again, coming from Fancy But Functional. If you want to find out more, you can go to their website, which I'll have in the video description and pinned comment. You can also go even check out the instructions for this organizer as you're watching this video to get an appreciation as to how each of these different pieces have been put together. I'll talk through it at a high level, but seeing those instructions will certainly hammer things home for you. Now, when you look at something like this, you might assume there's a lot of work here. I probably took a lot of time to put all this stuff together. Actually, this took me about 30 to 40 minutes. And I'm not joking. It was very, very quick. Now, why was that? Well, mainly because you don't have to punch anything out. That was one of the biggest things. There's certain organizers out there where you have to constantly punch things out, and then you have to kind of sort them into whichever component you're kind of putting together. So if you're trying to put together this tray, you know, the pieces to this tray could be across multiple sheets. So you're kind of playing this game of like organization before you even get to build anything. With the way this insert was delivered, which I really appreciated, you had these elastics that kept together the pieces that belong together. So for instance, and this is kind of a poor example because everything's already built, but dividers, for instance, are all banded together. But let's talk about the card tray underneath. I mean, this tray here comprises of a number of different pieces, for instance. But if you can imagine for a moment this gigantic section right here broken down to its original pieces, they were all on top of each other flat, and then they were all tied together with an elastic, which makes the whole process of building each of the pieces of this organizer really easy, because not only do you have to punch nothing, but everything's organized in terms of going ahead and beginning to build. You can just pick a section, take a look at the instructions, and just begin building it. There's none of this organizational stuff that has to happen at the beginning, and that cuts a lot of downtime in these really nice looking inserts. Now, what also makes the whole process go by a whole bunch quicker is getting the right type of glue, and there are many. For me personally, the glue that worked the best is the one that I actually use for miniature building as well, which is a super glue, an ultra gel here that has really, really good bonding, and it also does not take a long time to dry at all. So you can start assembling something, get it fitted, and really just lay it down on a piece of paper towel and let it dry on its own and move on to your next piece. I ripped through this insert in about 30 to 40 minutes thanks to this particular glue. Now, if I started actually beginning using wood glue, which I thought would be a wise decision, but it actually ended up showing a whole bunch of residue all over the different joints of where I was trying to connect things. Plus, just the application of the wood glue itself was an absolute pain, whereas this actually has a tip applicator, which makes things super easy to actually apply really fast, and again, just dries almost instantly. So you don't have to babysit the thing as you're putting it together, making this whole thing so much easier. Now, the wood glue route I went originally originally with a couple pieces. Had some nasty residue, as I mentioned, so I had to clean that stuff up. But the pieces I put together with this super glue here, as I quickly realized this was the best bet, everything you're seeing in this shot, the entire insert now is, you can't even tell there's glue anywhere on any of these pieces. Everything looks so clean. Now, for those of you that have gone to the website to check out the assembly instructions for this Middara insert, you'll also notice that it mentions things like 1, 2, A, B. That's because inside of each packet, or each of these things, that's when it's broken down and tied together with elastic, it also has etched onto it either 1, like a numerical value essentially, that's on each of the different pieces that match. So 1 would be on every single piece for this tray, for instance, or maybe it's A. But basically, it just helps in case things do get mixed up, then you can easily organize things again. But again, I didn't need to do that out of the gates, and I really appreciated that. So now that we have seen this thing all kind of assembled without you actually having to watch the build, we're going to go ahead and grab the core box. I'm going to gut it all out so there's nothing in there, and we're going to walk through each and every step to put everything in here. We might have to revisit a few trays if I miss organizing something correctly at the right time, but we'll get everything into this gigantic box. As with most organizers, it all begins with an empty box. You're going to need to place 4 pieces inside the box that are going to elevate the lid of the box, so I've got those 4 pieces in place right now. On the right hand side, you'll see this edge right here. I basically bent that edge in, and again, there's no worry of it bending because it's really just movable tray piece. I just kind of slanted it in on an angle so that it sits in there perfectly snug and it's not going anywhere. Next up, we have a tray which is quite large but houses all the mini cards. There's dividers. I even have a couple extra dividers, so if I really want to divide a couple of the sections up into subsections, I can do that. I think I have 1 more small divider left for the mini cards and 2 more of the large dividers, but you'll see there's room enough for all of these cards in this insert to be sleeved. These next 2 trays sit right in the middle and house all of the game tiles inside of them. A tray in the bottom right houses all of the clip-on bases and still has room to spare. The next tray going in has a whole bunch of standees inside of it, as well as the bases for those standees. And then there's also the scanner, so you can see the narrative that's hidden away inside of the books. And there is 1 water tile I've placed in here as well. You can see there's quite a bit of room in these trays as well, which is really nice to organize things. In the top right-hand corner, another tray goes in. This one houses a number of different tokens for Middara. In the middle, there is a smaller tray which houses squares and rectangles. These are the terrain elements of Middara. Most of them have UV printing on them, like water, for instance, and they're placed right here. Couple more trays get placed here. We have 1 for dice, and as you can see, the dice tray has tons of room, especially if you have the fancy etched dice as well, which I do. I just didn't place them in this video. And then some more standees. These are the more larger size standees that need their own tray here. The next tray has things like haste and courage, disease, paralyze. These are all square tokens, and they sit and fit right in here perfectly. Next up, we have a very large tray for the large cards. You'll see there's ample room here, so you can sleeve these with the sleeves that actually came with the game, or find some sleeves on your own, and everything large card-wise will fit into these trays. I made 1 change to what I've done organizing this insert. I've gone ahead and taken 2 of the trays that are in the middle, the ones with the black top, the square conditional tokens, and those environmental rectangle tokens and square tokens. I just pushed those 2 trays up north a little bit to make room for this tray here, which has plastic stands for the standees. Next up is another tray of tokens, and you can see those fitted on top. We have 1 more to go. And just like that, we have now fitted all of the different trays for this organizer inside the box. You'll see there is a large bulk of space on the right, and that's going to be for, well, the gigantic book that comes with Middara, as well as a number of booklets. That massive adventure book for Act 1 is now in place. Let's get the rest of the booklets in here as well. There we go. The last thing to place is the world map. With the map now in place, let's go ahead and close up the box. And just like that, everything for Middara Act number 1 is now inside the box. I will mention at the very bottom, you'll notice the box lid is up about 1.5 inches. Again, that's because of those 4 support systems on the corners, which again are simply just placed in there to ensure there's a little extra space in the box, which I really appreciate. Thought it might be an issue, but I have no intentions of actually having this thing sitting vertical at any point in time. It is way too heavy, even with just the core box alone, to be putting this vertical and risking everything flying everywhere unless I had things in baggies. But as you know, with a campaign game, 1,000 baggies in a giant box like this becomes a setup nightmare. So having things organized into these different trays is going to make the setup of the game faster, plus easy to find tokens when called for while playing the game. There's so many things to like about this, I can't even mention them all. I'm just really happy that everything got back in the box, and I really feel like now when I tackle Middara, continuing on with my campaign, that I'm not going to have to deal with some of the headaches around getting this thing to the table anymore. With that all said, I definitely plan to go ahead and sleeve everything moments after shutting the camera off here, because I know this insert can handle it based on the description, even straight off the website itself. At the end of the day, I really hope that this video gives you a good and solid understanding of what this organizer could offer you, and hope it helps you make an informed decision as to whether or not this is the organizer that might work for you. So let me know in the comments down below, what did you like and dislike about what you saw here? Is this of interest to you? Do you already have issues around getting Middara to the table just based on its size and the amount of components it has and organizing those components around the game board? Could this be of good use to you, or do you have something else that you're currently using? Regardless, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.